All right, I want to welcome everyone to our live Saturday morning presentation. I've done presentations like this in the past. It's called The Science of Nitric Oxide Therapy. I have it in a PowerPoint presentation for you today, and we'll go through the PowerPoint presentation, and then I'd like to take you to our Synergy family, show you a bunch of resources that we have that you can use, especially if you're using the Legacy 2020 app. You can load some of these resources onto your app and share them with people. And then I'll take any questions that you might have. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. Now, it's really important to understand that this is true science. The 1998 Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded to 3 American researchers who discovered how the lining of your vascular system, what's called the endothelium, when properly nourished, creates nitric oxide, the master signaling molecule of your entire cardiovascular system. Again, I want to repeat that. The master signaling molecule of your entire cardiovascular system. So once that Nobel Prize was awarded, there was an explosion of research in this area. To date, there are well over 150,000 peer-reviewed clinical studies in the area of nitric oxide therapy. Some of those studies show how effective nitric oxide is in vasodilating the system. Other studies don't show much improvement in vascular system. And when I come to a slide later on in today's presentation, I'll help you understand why some studies show such great promise for nitric oxide and other studies don't. There's a real key factor to this. Well, with that said, this Nobel Prize winning information can be key to helping to address issues like high blood pressure, diabetic complications, wound healing, cognitive function, sexual health, stroke prevention, as well as helping to recover from strokes, sickle cell anemia, and athletic performance. All of them can, in all of those areas, people can see benefits by proper application of nitric oxide therapy. Now, before I share with you the 6 key ingredients that help optimize nitric oxide production, it's important for you to understand that there are 2 primary pathways for the creation of nitric oxide in your body. The first pathway is what we call the endothelial pathway. It's controlled by enzymes of the endothelium, which line the inside of your arteries and veins. The primary ingredient for this pathway is the amino acid L-Arginine, but as you will learn, you can only use L-Arginine when you have a short. If you use just L-Arginine only, you only have a short window of improved nitric oxide production. Fortunately, there are other key ingredients that will help optimize this pathway for higher and longer production of nitric oxide. Now, the other main pathway for the creation of nitric oxide is what we call the nitrate pathway, which is dependent upon bacteria in your saliva. This bacteria converts nitrates into nitrites that can then be absorbed into your body. These nitrites are then converted to nitric oxide. Now, before I move to the next slide, if you use a mouthwash, that most mouthwashes kill the bacteria that is necessary to convert nitrates to nitrites. So people who use mouthwash and then use ingredients for this pathway typically find that they don't work very well, because again, what you do with your mouth bacteria makes a big influence on how well you can go down this pathway. Now, beetroot is the most common ingredient used to harness this pathway. Unfortunately, like L-Arginine, beetroot only provides a small window of improved nitric oxide production. And the other unfortunate reality is that there are no other ingredients to help extend the production of nitric oxide through this pathway. All the other key ingredients work best in the endothelial pathway. Because of this, we believe the pathway that best helps a person optimize nitric oxide production for improved blood flow is the endothelial pathway. And one other aside before I move to the next slide, if I took my endothelium out of my body, or if you took the endothelium out of anyone's body, The endothelium lines all of your arteries, arterioles, veins, venules. Your capillaries are extensions of the endothelium. If you took all that out and laid it on a flat surface, it would have the surface volume of about a football field. So when we're looking at the endothelial pathway, it is always going to be the most effective pathway if we give it the right ingredients. If you don't give it the right ingredients, then it's not effective. But when given the right ingredients, the endothelial pathway far outperforms the nitrate-nitrite pathway in the creation of nitric oxide. Now, there are 6 key ingredients. They are L-Arginine, L-citrulline, red grape polyphenol extract, vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and pomegranate fruit concentrate. And as we've already talked about, the 1998 Nobel Prize in Medicine awarded to these 3 American researchers for how they discovered how this lining called the endothelium converts L-Arginine to nitric oxide. Well, you can get L-Arginine through the food that you eat. But the easiest method to make sure that you're consuming enough of this amino acid is to use a daily nutritional supplement that contains pure, free-form L-Arginine that is also pharmaceutical grade. So when we talk pharmaceutical grade, we're talking the highest purity of the L-Arginine. When we talk about free-form L-Arginine, we're talking about L-Arginine that is not attached to any other molecule. A lot of companies will use what they call food-grade L-Arginine. So it's not as pure. It's not absorbed very well in the body. So what they do is they attach the food-grade L-Arginine to a carrier molecule like hydrochloric acid, HCl. And the problem is when you do that, let's say that you're getting 5 grams of L-Arginine HCl. Well, you're not getting 5 grams of L-Arginine. You're getting about half of that, 2.5 grams of L-Arginine. The other 2.5 grams is the carrier molecule. And so the carrier molecule is being used to help the body to absorb that L-Arginine, so you don't get the same amount, you don't get the same effect, and you don't get the same results as if you're using pharmaceutical grade, pure, free-form L-Arginine. Now, for most people, the use of L-Arginine by itself is not enough. The conversion of L-Arginine to nitric oxide typically provides a 2-hour window of improved nitric oxide production. And then within 4 to 6 hours, most people are back to their baseline levels of nitric oxide. So the result is a temporary increase in blood flow, but not long-lasting benefits. Now, before I share with you the next ingredient to help extend your production of nitric oxide, it's important to address some misinformation that's out there about L-Arginine. You will see some companies that promote the nitrate-nitrite pathway make the following statement: the use of L-Arginine, especially if you're over the age of 40, to be dangerous or ineffective at best. That statement is flat out false. And here's the reason why. L-Arginine fuels 7 different metabolic pathways in your body. This means that every person, no matter their age, benefits from the amino acid L-Arginine. And as you can see, nitric oxide production is just one of the pathways that is fueled by L-Arginine. So all these other 6 pathways are absolutely necessary for the proper function of your body. So L-Arginine is a key amino acid that every person needs. Problem is, you can't get enough L-Arginine just from the food that you eat. So typically you need to do some level of supplementation so that you can make sure that all these pathways are optimized. Now, L-citrulline is the next key ingredient. This amino acid is metabolized to yield more L-Arginine, which enhances the ability of the enzymes of your endothelium to produce higher amounts of nitric oxide over a longer period of time. Here's the metabolic pathway. As you can see, L-citrulline is key. So what does this mean? If I don't have L-citrulline present and have just L-Arginine, and my endothelium, my enzymes in my endothelium are working properly, that L-Arginine will be converted to nitric oxide, and it's a one and done process. But if I have L-citrulline present, then when the L-Arginine is converted to nitric oxide, the other metabolites are picked up by the L-citrulline and then goes back down through a pathway so that you can produce more nitric oxide. The L-citrulline is not degraded, so you can continue this pathway loop over and over and over, which then gives you long-term production of nitric oxide. Now, some will tell you that you should use only L-citrulline. That it's important that it's the more important of the two amino acids. And while I would agree that if you were left with an either or choice, L-citrulline would be the one to take, but the reality is this: if you want to optimize your nitric oxide production, then you need both L-Arginine and L-citrulline to create higher and longer production of nitric oxide. Now, the next ingredient is what we call red grape polyphenol extract. It's important to have this key ingredient because it helps to reduce LDL oxidation, which typically causes vascular inflammation, leading to plaque formation and damage to your endothelium. Vascular inflammation is the root cause of most cardiovascular concerns. And anything that you can do to prevent this is key to protecting the health and function of the endothelium, which then contributes to nitric oxide production. Now, the next two key ingredients are vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. They work together to regulate calcium levels in your bloodstream. Calcium is a key ingredient because the enzymatic production of nitric oxide by your endothelium is what we call a calcium-dependent reaction. So I'm not going to go into this metabolic pathway except to circle calcium. So in the beginning of today's presentation, I told you that there are over 150,000 peer-reviewed clinical studies in the area of nitric oxide. Some show excellent results and some show no results. And why? Well, part of that has to do with when you do studies, you do just one ingredient. So typically, if they're doing a study on L-Arginine, they're giving them an L-Arginine supplement of some type. Now, if the participants in that study are lacking calcium, proper calcium levels in their bloodstream, then they may have a good amount of L-Arginine, but if the enzymes are missing the calcium component, those enzymes don't function properly and can't convert the L-Arginine to nitric oxide. Whereas if you have other studies where the participants have proper levels of calcium in their bloodstream, then those enzymes of the endothelium can function properly. And if you give them a good quality L-Arginine, then they get a good production of nitric oxide and the benefits that come from nitric oxide. So when you look at studies, it's really important to go beyond just looking at single ingredients. As you can see, just from this metabolic pathway, we don't work off of single ingredients. For you to have optimal health, you need multiple ingredients working together to provide optimal results. Now, vitamin D3 by itself supports healthy cardiovascular function and inflammatory response. And increasing the vitamin D levels in your bloodstream can have a profound benefit in helping to prevent diabetic complications. And as we've talked about in the past, also helps to improve your immune system function. Now, vitamin K2 is the next key ingredient. But it's important that you make sure that you know which form of vitamin K is critical. Had a client call me last night. They're going through some health issues and they want to know how they can begin the process of helping to clear calcium out of their vascular system. I told him that he could most likely supplement with additional vitamin K2. Called me back after I gave him that recommendation and said that he was on a blood thinner. Would it be a problem? So a lot of companies will use what we call vitamin K1 because it's significantly cheaper to use. The problem is vitamin K1 does not support vascular health and may interfere with blood thinning medications. Vitamin K2 is just the opposite. it's not going to interfere with blood thinning medications, and it's the correct form that significantly improves arterial and cardiovascular health. And it also plays an important role in preventing the calcification of all soft tissues, like your arteries, heart, lungs, and kidneys. In fact, there are plenty of peer-reviewed clinical studies that show that as people increase their vitamin K levels, they can prevent vascular calcification, and in some cases, even begin to reverse vascular calcification. Now, the last ingredient is pomegranate fruit concentrate. This enhances enzymatic activity of your endothelium, which then gives you the ability to increase nitric oxide production. Again, there are plenty of peer-reviewed clinical articles that show how pomegranate fruit juice concentrate can help increase nitric oxide production, leading to improved vascular health and being shown to reverse plaque formations within the vascular system. So these are the 6 key: L-Arginine, L-citrulline, red grape polyphenol extract, vitamin D3, vitamin K2, pomegranate fruit concentrate. And if you're going to use any type of nutritional supplement to increase your production of nitric oxide, then you've got to check your ingredient list to make sure that these 6 key ingredients are contained in the product that you're going to use. Now, as we all know, Pro-Arginine Plus has all 6 of these ingredients plus additional things that are part of its formulation. And as we have talked about in the past, we are firm believers in nitric oxide therapy. And if you're going to harness the benefits of nitric oxide therapy, then our product of choice is Pro-Arginine Plus from Synergy Worldwide. Now, if you go to the website that we created for our Synergy family, which is an easy URL to remember, our, O-U-R, synergyfamily.com. When you come to the home page, and if you scroll down on the home page, you will see that we have specific marketing strategies, and one of them is nitric oxide therapy. So if you click here to enter, it takes you to our dedicated page that has all the resource materials that we've created, videos, PDFs, Saturday presentations that we've done in this area that you can use to help, one, educate yourself in this area of nitric oxide therapy. And then as you go through the different ones, there may be videos that you think would be helpful to other people to have. So as we scroll down this page, you will see that we have videos like Pro-Arginine Plus, our product of choice. Maybe when you watch that video, you think that, hey, that would be good to help a person understand why we've chosen Pro-Arginine Plus as our product of choice for harnessing the benefits of nitric oxide therapy. You could then take that URL, and if you have the Legacy 2020 app, you can load that URL into your app, and then you can share it with people. Or if people are wanting to know what this nitric oxide therapy is, we created a video for that. You can use that. If you're looking to educate yourself on the unique selling properties of Pro-Arginine Plus, we have a video to help you understand why Pro-Arginine Plus is the product of choice. So not only does it contain those 6 key ingredients, but this is a product that is clinically proven to produce more nitric oxide and at higher levels and do it more rapidly than L-Arginine alone. But it's also clinically proven to prevent vascular inflammation, which is the underlying cause of almost all cardiovascular health issues. And then there is no product in the marketplace that has 262 verified quality assurance standards that go into the manufacturing of that product. There's no one in the health supplement industry that goes through the level of scrutiny that Synergy Worldwide does through Nature's Sunshine to make sure that every single batch that's produced of Pro-Arginine Plus always meets the same exacting standards that have been set for this product. That's why when we continue to use it ourselves personally, as well as our clients continue to use it from batch to batch, they keep getting the same reproducible results. And then as you go down here, there's other things that you might find that are interesting. Pro-Arginine Plus Advantage, clinically proven. Maybe you want to load that into your Legacy 2020 app. So if a person says, well, why should I use your product over someone else's? You can say, well, because our product is clinically proven. If you'd like, I can send you a video that will help you understand why this product outperforms all the other ones. Maybe you want to talk about the 262 quality assurance steps. Maybe you run into a person that's bought into the misinformation that Dr. Borger shares with regards to his product versus Pro-Arginine Plus. Again, it's a great video that is out there to help enlighten people of the misinformation that has been spread by Dr. Borger. When you go down here, I've also loaded some new videos that you can use. We've been going through COVID-19 for 3 years now. One of the lingering effects of COVID-19 is what they call brain fog. Well, you can use nitric oxide therapy to address that brain fog. So maybe you're talking to a person, they had COVID-19, they're still feeling the effects of the COVID-19 with regards to cognitive function. You could then share this video with them. How to compare nitric oxide supplements. There's just a lot of great different videos that are here that you can use that you might find beneficial in helping to send information to people to help them better understand how nitric oxide therapy could benefit kidney function. Maybe you're talking to a person and they've got some kidney function issues. Well, does nitric oxide help in that area? You can say, yeah, it certainly does. In fact, let me pull up a video for you and I'll text it to you, and then you can watch it and we can discuss whether you think this would be beneficial to you. Again, there's just so much information that's here for you. When you get into the PDFs, there's one PDF that I'm going to assume you can load this into the Legacy 2020 app. I'm not positive about this, but if you can load a URL, then I would think that you can load a URL image. So this one here is something that I've used in a lot of situations to help do two things. One, reassure people who are using Pro-Arginine Plus that it is the best of all the major nitric oxide supplements. So that's one way. Or a person might say, well, why should I use your product over one of the other ones that are out there? Again, you could send that to the individual and say, look, here are the major nitric oxide supplements that are out there. Pro-Arginine Plus is the best of all of them. There's only 2 other products that even come close to it. All of the other products are either half or a third or a quarter in their ability to create nitric oxide. So you might find something that's slightly cheaper, but you're also going to get a lot less nitric oxide production. So if you want the best value and get the best production of nitric oxide, then there's clearly only one product out there that can do that, Pro-Arginine Plus. So again, these are resources that are available to you that will help you in this process of being able to provide information to people based upon what their needs are, as opposed to you trying to convince them that they have a need. You know, and when we go down through here, there are other videos that we have down at as we scroll down, excuse me, that again, help people to see how nitric oxide therapy can specifically address certain cardiovascular issues, whether it be the Black community, whether it be a person who has wound healing issues, cognitive function issues, sexual health function issues, diabetic complications, high blood pressure. Again, there are specific videos here that you could, again, load into your Legacy 2020 app and then use those videos when appropriate to the individual that you're talking to. Maybe you're talking to athletes and they want to improve their performance. Again, they might not understand how nitric oxide therapy can help them do that, but if you share this video on how nitric oxide therapy addresses athletic performance, they'll have a better understanding of how improved blood flow can significantly help them work at a higher aerobic capacity, which again improves workouts, recoveries, and athletic performance. And then we've got Saturday trainings that we've done in the past that will help you again understand the science of Pro-Oxide Plus, the science of nitric oxide therapy, kind of what we're doing today, an email campaign that you can do for nitric oxide therapy. So again, a lot of great material that is at your fingertips that you can use to help educate yourself, as well as help educate your client or potential client in how nitric oxide therapy through our product of choice, Pro-Oxide Plus, could be a significant help to them. So with that said, do I have any questions or comments from anyone on today's presentation? You're all muted, so you'll have to unmute yourself for me to take your comments or questions.
Hey, Dan, it's Judy.
Yes, Judy.
Hey, so great presentation. And I really liked what you said about really back to the art of asking questions, but letting the potential customer tell you what their challenge is instead of, erupting over people and letting them know all you know about nitric oxide therapy, because it really is all about how you can help the individual, and everybody's challenges and needs are different. A lot of times the answer's the same, but getting there is really what's important. So, thank you for reminding us about that.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Judy. You want to match up your resource material to the needs of your client, as opposed to giving the client resource materials that doesn't necessarily fit what they're looking for, and then you trying to convince them. If you can talk to your client through questions, find out what their needs are, then once you understand their needs, if you've done a good job looking at the materials that are available to you, videos, PDFs, you can then suggest to that individual, hey, you're experiencing this here. There's a great video that will help you understand how nitric oxide therapy can address that issue. Is it okay if I text you a link to that video? And again, you're not telling them that you're going to do it. Through the art of asking questions, you're asking them if it's okay to send that link. If they are truly interested in finding a solution to their issue, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes. And that then gives you the ability to not only send that to them through a text, but if you're using the Legacy 2020 app, you know if they've opened it, and you can then follow up with that individual to see if they have any questions on how nitric oxide therapy could be a benefit to them. And then you just let them, dictate the rest of that conversation, and you can then lead them to, hey, there's a lot of great products out there, but our product of choice is Pro-Oxide Plus. And then you can give to that person the reasons why we've made it our product of choice, which other products won't be able to, when you make a comparison between them, won't be able to stand up to the value of what you get in Pro-Oxide Plus. Anything else, Judy, or anyone else with today's conversation?
Yeah, Dan, this is Bob. Do you have a recommendation for where you can get the L-Arginine supplement?
Usually I find that when you're looking at single ingredient supplements like that, you can go to, I'll tell you just a second. You can go to Life Extension, and Life Extension makes a lot of great products. Okay. And they're pretty cost effective.
Okay. And then my second question, Dan, we haven't heard anything, or I haven't heard anything for a very long time from Rainer Borger. Is he still out there? I mean, is he still promoting his products?
I think so. His products have gone through some evolutions, supposedly, better, but I don't know how active they are like they were before in terms of promoting their product. So I don't know. I don't keep abreast of what Bob Weeks and Dr. Borger are doing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, good morning, Dan. This is David.
Good morning, David.
Hey, I appreciate your, again, going into the details regarding the difference between L-Arginine and L-citrulline and the value L-citrulline adds to L-Arginine. But I guess the reinforcement of the purpose of the L-citrulline in recirculating or extending the life of the L-Arginine was important for me, because that's a point that I had forgotten. I had forgotten how L-citrulline interacts with L-Arginine. Now, what surprised me, you said if you had a choice between both, you would select the L-citrulline. That's interesting. And going into what Bob says, is there a way to buy just L-citrulline, or is that really irrelevant in terms of Pro-Arginine Plus?
No, you can buy L-citrulline just by itself as a single ingredient. So two things, David. One, if I only had the choice between an L-Arginine supplement and an L-citrulline supplement, then I would choose the L-citrulline supplement because of two reasons. One, L-citrulline is converted in the liver to L-Arginine, so I'm going to get L-Arginine out of L-citrulline. And then secondly, L-citrulline in the bloodstream, if the endothelial pathway is working properly, where calcium is properly present and the enzymes are working properly, then I can convert the L-Arginine that's been converted in the liver, the L-citrulline that's been converted to L-Arginine in the liver, it can then be used, excuse me, to create nitric oxide. And I have the L-citrulline present to, again, reform L-Arginine and keep going through this enzymatic pathway to get long-term production of nitric oxide. Whereas if I only have L-Arginine present, I'm only going to get one pass through this pathway to create nitric oxide, and then it's over and done. So that's why L-citrulline, if I only have two choices, L-citrulline would be the better choice of the two. However, if you want to optimize your nitric oxide production, then first off, you want both L-Arginine and L-citrulline, because if I have L-Arginine, then my liver doesn't have to convert the L-citrulline to L-Arginine, and more of your L-citrulline can be in the bloodstream to, again, optimize this ability to create nitric oxide, plus the other 4 ingredients that I shared with you. All of them are designed to optimize the endothelial pathway for optimal production of nitric oxide.
So to make sure I can explain it correctly as you're saying it. So L-Arginine, obviously it's wonderful, and it has its own function in terms of the health of veins and arteries. L-citrulline has a function in optimizing L-Arginine. In addition to that, what I just found out from this, L-citrulline is converted to L-Arginine in the liver. So it produces more, as a result, more L-Arginine in your system.
And it ends up producing more nitric oxide.
More nitric oxide, I understand. Is it only done in the liver? Does this conversion only happen in the liver or other parts of the body?
As far as L-Arginine or L-citrulline converted to L-Arginine, I think only occurs in the liver. I don't think it occurs in other places in the body. And then you also have the L-citrulline in the bloodstream, so that when the L-Arginine is present and the enzyme is working properly, you can create nitric oxide, and the metabolites that come off of that are picked up by the L-citrulline and reconverted back into L-Arginine to go through this pathway again.
Great stuff. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Anyone else before we say goodbye?
Yes, Dan, thanks. Thanks again for this webinar.
You're welcome.
Yes, you can get the L-citrulline separately. GNC sells it separately when I was in Europe, but it's in tablet form. And I didn't particularly like just getting the L-citrulline, but yes, it's available. and it is converted in the mitochondria. That's the process of the L-citrulline and L-Arginine pathway, so to speak. So yes, it can be outside the liver. It's also converted in mitochondria.
Thank you for sharing that. And I would suggest that if you can get your L-citrulline in a capsule form as opposed to a tablet, you'd most likely get better absorption.
Yeah, correct. The other thing, Dan, this question is for Bob. I can't get that app. Is it in the App Store for my Android?
It's a good question, Donald. I'm not sure. Let me look into it. I'll see if I can't get it for you.
Thanks, because I did log on to the webinar, but they didn't indicate where I can find it. So if you will.
Yeah, there's another webinar this morning too. So let me see how I can get it to you.
Okay, thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'll try and see if I can log on again this morning. I think it comes up in another hour or so.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys.
You're welcome. Anyone else before we say goodbye? All right, I want to thank you for your time today. Next week, I think it's Bob and Judy doing another one of their excellent leadership presentations. And we'll talk to you next Saturday. Have a blessed weekend.